Make sure. Oh, I didn't check. It says we're live.
We should be ready.
No, I want
It did say live.
to. Yeah, we're going. We're good. I just hope you guys can hear us. That's what I forgot to check.
Good morning.
The volume.
Oh, I mean, good
afternoon.
afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're excited today.
Our topic for this morning is
Wounds and words. Wounds and words.
wounds and words, and both hurt, both scar.
So we all know the saying, right? Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt.
Not true.
Absolutely not true.
Not true.
Definitely a lie. And I don't even know why or where that stemmed from. I had told myself I was going to look it up, but I didn't. I should have looked it up to see where it came from. But I just know we said it. We said it all the time.
All the time. I grew up knowing that verse, and all the time as children, we used to have this little thing that you would go when you'd be fighting with words like that. You would go, and it was like what this meant was back to you. Here you throw it out, and there it goes, back to you. You know, I don't even know where that came from. But
It's like you laugh at it now because it's like so not true.
But it's crazy that that's like in here at an early age, you know.
Yeah, like.
And you don't think anything about it. You're not thinking that the words are actually hurting someone.
Yeah.
Sometimes more than just hitting them, you know?
And yeah, for sure. And I could just think back as a child, like I know I'm saying some hurtful things, you know, and I've had some hurtful things said to me, and I played it off like that ain't do nothing, that didn't mean nothing, that didn't hurt me.
Yes.
But all the while it did.
Yes.
And you know, and then you wonder why you're sitting on somebody's couch 20 years later.
And for me, you know, like the things about words, I feel like we leave them in here, we bury them for a while and ready to spit them out like when you're arguing, you know. So they're actually, for me, yes, they are actually emotions, they're weapons that have been just put aside until you're ready to like, oh yeah, and then everything comes out, you know. But for me, what that causes, it causes distance on my relationship with whoever, you know, because now I've buried that deep in my heart, but I don't forget. And I'm like, no, remember the last time when you called me this, or you know, you said this, like. No, they're very hurtful. They're very hurtful.
What I think is interesting is how we pay more attention to our physical wounds than we do words. But the question I was asking you earlier is, why do we do that? Why is it that, even like, y'all know how I talked about my hand being burnt, like, y'all should have saw the way I've been babying this thing. And then I went and picked with it, and now it's bleeding again, so I had to wrap it. However, I gave so much attention and care to this wound.
We do.
But the reason why we do that, right, the reason why we give so much care to our physical wounds is because we can see them. They're visible. They're right there in our face. You can't hide something that's shooting you right in the face, right? You're gonna take care of it. You're gonna treat it. You're gonna make sure that this thing heals correctly because you can see it.
Right.
And because you can see it, you know, oh, I have to do something about it. But when it comes to words, we hide them. We can disguise those things. We can put makeup on our face, right? We can put a smile on our face. We can sweep it under the rug and act like it didn't hurt us. And so it's just so much easier to hide words and pretend like this riddle, right, says, oh, that didn't hurt me. That didn't hurt me.
Right.
And all the while you're carrying these things for years and years and years and years.
Accumulate.
But what is that doing long term?
That's hurting the person that's feeling that. You know?
Because we know words hurt. We know words leave great wounds. We know that words cause trauma. We know that words also can kill dreams and visions, and it can stop movement. Like progression that's going on in your life can be halted by words. It can imprison you, right? And it has, they carry power. We know that life and death, right? That's what the scripture says in Proverbs 18:21. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So we know that words carry power and that they can do some true damage, especially when you leave them untreated. And so we just want to bring light to that, right?
How would you treat it?
How would I treat those wounds?
Praying?
Of course.
Asking
Prayer,
for forgiveness, or, you know, not asking for forgiveness, but trying to forgive that person, you know?
Yeah. Well, first,
They're still there.
first thing I would address is why. Is the why behind it. Why do we feel the need to use our words?
And
to
we use them
destroy,
every day.
to tear down.
Every day.
And the
good
thing
morning.
is,
Like, good morning. How are you? Every day.
And the thing is, we use them, right? We use these words every day, but we're using them to tear down not only other people, but ourselves, right?
Yeah.
How often you're your worst critic, right?
We are.
So you're looking at yourself every day. You deal with you every day. So if you're telling yourself, dang, I was stupid for doing it. Dang, why did I make that mistake? Dang, I knew not to do that. Yeah. You're tearing your own self down. You're speaking death over your life, right? You're creating wounds that you're not gonna go back and heal. Because you're like, well, it's me, I can say that. You know, I can say that to myself. No, you can't. You're speaking over your own life and you're causing damage. And then when you hear it from someone else, oh, that just intensifies it. And these are all lies, by the way, right? They're all lies. And so you're intensifying the lie. You've already told yourself. Someone else says it to you. Now you're like, oh, I knew it was true. Now you're believing the lie you've been feeding yourself all this time. And so, yeah, it's a sad cycle that we do it, but we all do it at some point. But it's grabbing hold of the why. Right. What's the why? Where is this stemming from? What is the root of why you're doing that? What has happened? What has occurred? What started this thing? And so for me, it's going to always be, let me check my heart. And remember, Scripture tells us we don't know the depth of our heart. And because we don't know it, we don't know what lies there. But guess what? Satan is always somewhere around, and he's always somewhere playing in the background, right? And so here it is. Now, right, we're speaking these words, we're saying these things, and he's just back there cheering you on. Yeah, you're right. You don't, because remember this, and then remember when such and such reminded you? So you're like, yeah. And now you're just believing these things, but you have to start hearing the heart. And once you begin to ask those questions to God, like, why? Why am I, like, I need you to reveal why it is that I'm showing up this way. Right. Where did this stem from? Did I truly believe that sticks and stones may break my bones, but the words that people were telling me didn't hurt me? Like, and if I believe that, why did I believe that? And is that true? Because we know it's not. But why did I believe that was true when I'm over here hurting, but I'm not willing to admit it? I'm not willing to tell somebody that they hurt me. I'm not willing to be vulnerable enough or be transparent enough to say, you've hurt me. You showed up this way and that really hurt me. Like, why is it so hard for us to say that? But those are matters of the heart when it's all said and done.
You know, when I'm going through whatever disagreement, whatever, with whoever, I'm like, I know they're at the tip of my tongue to want to come out, and I'm just trying. I'm like, I'm not going there. No. And then not even a minute later, those words are out, and I'm like, why? Why did I do that? Like, I believe, Satan has a lot to do with it, because they're bad words.
But it even says, it tells us in Scripture that no man can tame it. This tongue, no man can tame it, right? And so you need a higher presence. You need a higher, right?
For sure, right?
Figure, God, right? In order to help you get that under control. You can speak to your heart, but ultimately, God has to do that deep search for you. He has to root cause and show you why you're showing up the way you're showing up and why it is you're choosing to use these words. And he also has to be the one to help to give you a new way of thinking, renewed mind, a new perspective of how to take those words or that pain, right? Because that's part of that whole emotional stability, and how to utilize these emotions he's given us to be able to communicate with our brother in love, right? So it's still part of learning to love with your heart and be vulnerable with your heart, but allowing God to guide those conversations. And so in Romans 12:10, it tells us to be kindly affectionate to one another with brotherly love, and honoring and giving preference to one another. And all that's saying is to consider your brother over yourself. So yeah, they may have offended you, right? But even in them offending you, there is a way to come to them in love and say, hey, you've done this thing and it has hurt me. And I need you to know that, because I don't want this behavior to continue. And also, God, help my brother and help me, right? Because sometimes people don't know that they offended you, right? They don't know your life story. They don't know the things you've encountered, have been through. So them saying something that may have been jokingly, may have been a knife in your back, you know?
A lot of times also people are so, that's just how they talk, and they come across rude, you know?
True.
Yeah,
but
sometimes I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, but I think even in that, it's still going and saying, hey, you've done this, but this is the way it made me feel, because in scripture it
See, I'm always like, why are you so rude?
Right. and there's nothing wrong with that, but still.
It's only to my family, though.
All I'm saying, there's always a better way to go about it, because even in scripture it tells us in Romans 14:16 to do not let your good be spoken evil of. And so even when just say you're going to someone in love and you're saying something what you perceive to be in love, and they're like, oh, well, that still hurt me, right? There's still a way to even mend something like that, because it may be the work of the other person that needs to happen for, but
and you chose your words, making sure you weren't gonna
and it still may be offense on the other end, but that's why it's still good to I always recommend praying before you talk to somebody, because what you don't want to do is show up as you, especially if you're irritated. Especially if you're irritated and you feel a certain type of way and you're like, oh, I'm just going to tell them. Yeah, that doesn't usually end well, right? And it doesn't resolve anything. That person either is just going to stay away from you, and then now they're thinking about it X, Y, and Z later, and you're probably still thinking about it too, because they didn't receive it and they're not about to apologize. So it still didn't work out in your favor, but you going back and really sitting with it and seeing what was it about it, because it may be the approach. The content may actually be true, what they're telling you, but there's still a way to present it. And if that person doesn't receive it, that's okay too, but you said it. The other scripture that came up was Proverbs 27:6. It says, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of the enemy are deceitful. And so even in that still plays a part of somebody could be coming to you in love using words, and you're not open to receive it, right? You're not open to receive it. But then you have to look at what's the source, like who did it come from? And if you know that person, you know they heart already. Like, this is a good person. I know their heart. The information they're saying has truth to it. So, Lord, I know this is a me issue. I've done that many times, like, ooh, I didn't like what they said. I didn't appreciate them bringing up something I wasn't even ready to talk about. But what they said was true. It was true. And so I had to ask God, help me to digest this and help me to deal with the fact that they came in love, right? They came in love. But I just didn't want to be told that. But help me to humble myself and accept what they're saying and know that it came from a good place. So, but it's when we don't take the God's way, right? When we choose to just go our own way, we're leaving people in ruins, and we're leaving ourselves in ruins, especially if we're downplaying and talking about ourselves. we're creating so much trauma that we're dealing with for years and years and years, and we're just not even willing to admit it at that point. And it's crazy, right? It's crazy to think, but we do it daily. That's the thing. We do it daily. And so it's being mindful and careful of those things, that wounds are wounds nonetheless, whether they're physical wounds that we can see and we're willing to treat, or they're wounds that are from words and we're trying to hide. Don't hide. Don't hide. And if you're not brave enough, ask God for the bravery. Like, Lord, I need courage in this. I need a way to be able to say this, to be able to talk to this person, to be able to reach them. Help me. But that's what I would say to that. Do you have anything to add in closing?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Okay, that's cool.
I would just say, if we can, kind of try to think it before you speak it, and just watch our words before we say something to someone. Like, just don't go home and like, and by the way, like, no, think about before you say by the way.
Yeah, I agree. Give it some thought for sure. But okay, guys, that's what we have for you today. I hope it helps someone to rethink or to just speak up, right? Speak up, but speak up in love. Ask God to give you those words, so you can free yourself.
What is that phrase I always hear when I'm listening to a radio station? I believe it's something like, there's a lot of people out there who are nice, and if you cannot find one, then you can be one.
Yes. That's
So y'all have an amazing day.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
And we'll check you out.